Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mary Price. I'm the Events and Marketing Manager at the Shingo Institute at Utah State University. I'm excited to have guests from the Manufacturing Institute with us today, specifically Lisa Riley, who is the Executive Director, and Martin Hay, who has been with TMI as an Associate Practitioner for many years. If you haven't had a chance to read the article published earlier this month on the topic we're discussing today, I would encourage you to visit our website, shingo.org. Click the media tab and select the blog. You'll find the article there. It's titled That Shingo Feeling. Lisa and Martin, thank you so much for joining us today. I'll turn the time over to you.
So hello everyone, my name is Lisa Riley. I'm the Executive Director at the Manufacturing Institute. And I've been cogitating feelings in business with one of our leadership practitioners, Dr. Martin Hay, founder of Latitude 7, and with my colleague Adrian, who's also on the call. And this discussion really came about because certainly on a lot of the workshops, the Shingo workshops I've attended, where there's a room full of people, sometimes from different sites, sometimes from different areas of the business, when things click. Things click into place, and you can literally feel it when everybody gets on the same page. It creates an amazing movement. And we're only human, so we all feel the impact of positive and negative culture, and some of us will have experienced or witnessed both. At the TMI, we notice when we're on site, we notice culture when we're on site, and certainly when we're training the Shingo model, we call it that Shingo feeling, and it's the subject of today's discussion. So thank you for your time, and I hope you glean some thought-provoking insights from today's session. So let's get going, Martin.
Oh, thank you very much indeed, Lisa. Well, hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon and good evening. We look forward to working with you today as we discuss the relationship between Shingo and culture. So what does culture mean? Here we can see the Shingo model on the right-hand side. We have the guiding principles, the systems and the tools, which obviously bring about the results that we need. And it's interesting that at the heart of this model, we see the culture and behavior. So what do we mean by that? If we go into a business, or we go into a shop or to the gym or any organization, we have a feeling about the place. We recognize the behavior of the people, and that really is the culture of that business. So sometimes in business, the behavior is not good. People are frustrated, we see poor communication, and some employees are often disengaged, and we recognize that as clients and as co-workers. So culture is really critical to business, but it's not always prioritized, and we recognize the value of the KBIs in Shingo. So if we think about the Shingo model as a wheel, wheels are really important for business, they keep us going, but a wheel is only as good as the strength of the hub. Why do we know that culture is important? Well, in 2015, Deloitte University Press, they ran a survey on human capital trends. There were 3,300 respondents from over 100 countries, and it showed this summary graph here. On the left-hand side, we have the importance of the items going from not important to very important on a 0 to 100 scale. On the right-hand side, we have the readiness. So how ready were the businesses to actually embrace those items? And here we have the top 10 items. But if we look on the left-hand side, we can see that learning and development, leadership and culture and engagement were the key items as decided by those respondents. And what we see is that those three items are in the mid to top 70s, so knocking on the door of 80% of importance, very, very high. But we also see that even though they're very important and recognised as such by the respondents, they felt that they weren't actually ready and they had some work to do, because the green bars are showing a 30-point gap. So there are some gaps in that readiness, and what we'll try and do today is work with you to demonstrate how we might be able to close that gap. So we go to lots of different shops. We know that Shingo are also trying to capture culture. But if we go through an airport, or if we go through a restaurant, or any large retail store, we see these little pads, don't we, with a green smiley face, with a red sad face, and an amber neutral face in the middle. And we're asked to press the button. Now, that's not very scientific, and I'm not sure how much that organisations glean from that. But what they can get from that is they can find out that people are either generally satisfied or generally dissatisfied with that organisation. But two things are missing. One thing is it's not clear why people have pressed that button, and nor is there any kind of gradation on how hard they press the button, whether they're really happy or really sad. So we need to think a little bit deeper than that, and we should start thinking about emotions. We all have emotions. We know that: happy, sad, angry, whatever it might be. And if we think about using our cell phone and our mobile phone, if you look on the screen, there are hundreds of emotions, so many of them, it's really difficult to keep track. And there is a relationship between emotion and culture, and indeed Shingo. So in leadership, the value of understanding and demonstrating emotion is really important, because there is this causal link between emotion and culture. It starts with emotion and it ends with culture. And it looks something like this. We see something, we have an emotion, we create feelings around that emotion. It drives our motivation in a negative or a positive way, and we end up with a behavior. Now, our co-workers, our colleagues, they see that behavior, and also, more importantly, our clients and our customers see that behavior, and that is the culture that they are witnessing. So think about emotional granularity, then what do we mean by that? So let's imagine there are three people sat on a sofa watching a football game, and the game ends, and we've got a person in a red shirt on my right hand side, we've got a person in the blue shirt on my left hand side, and I'm in the middle. So I don't support either of those teams, so I'm not bothered who wins. So my emotion when the game is finished is, okay, so what, that was okay. The person in the blue shirt, because they lost today, would feel really upset and angry and dissatisfied, feel really, really bad about it. But the person wearing the red shirt, because they won today, would be absolutely elated. They'd be ecstatic. It'd be fantastic for them. So how is it then that three people can see exactly the same thing, but have three different emotions? And that's what emotional granularity means. So it's our ability to differentiate between the specificity of how we feel. And if emotional granularity is high, and people that work for us in organisation understand themselves well, they will use words to describe their emotions that are very, very specific. So instead of saying happy, they'll say, I'm delighted, I'm ecstatic, I'm super duper. And if they're not happy, they won't just say, I'm sad. They'll say, you know, I'm really miffed today, I'm really disappointed today. And they'll be really clear on what's going on. For us as leaders, that is fantastic, because it enables us, using clean language, to understand where they're coming from so that we can help them to improve their behaviour and improve the culture. However, people with low emotional granularity, they report their feelings in very global terms. They're either happy or they're sad or they're pleased or they're displeased. Now, as leaders, we have quite a job then to try and dig down and ask the 5 whys and try and understand why they are saying those words before we can get them to recognise the problem, to change their behaviour, to manage the culture. So in leadership then, we have emotions and motivation, as do our employees and our clients and suppliers. And they're all linked to humility, which of course we know is part of the enablers in Shingo, and also compassion and understanding. So if we use compassionate leadership, if we use lots of humility and understand our people, it will help us recognise their holistic well-being, and it can help us move forward together as a team. So let's have a look at the complexity of the culture then. This circumplex shows on the horizontal axis the valence, so from negative to a positive environment. And on the vertical axis, we have arousal from 0 to something very, very high. Let's just have a look at the top right-hand side of this graph, and we can see it's a positive environment with arousal going from the middle to the top. And here we can see that people might explain how they're feeling by saying, I'm pleased, I'm happy, I'm delighted, I'm ecstatic, I'm astounded, I'm astonished, I'm really, really delighted today. However, on the bottom left-hand side, this is a negative situation, something not going really well. And the people will describe how they feel in different terms from, oh, I'm a bit miserable today. I'm a little bit depressed, Martin. Can you help me? Oh, I'm really, really bored. I'm fed up. I'm tired. And if people can use those different words, it will really help us as leaders to support them in their quest. If we look at this circle on the left-hand side, in the middle, we see the very global terms, so sad, happy, angry, and so on. And in the center wheel, maybe that's as far as we need to go to try and start digging and finding out how our people are feeling, what their emotions are, what their behavior is like. But I think if we try and go to the nth degree and start looking at all of those words in the outer ring, I think we're digging too far too hard, and we might end up micromanaging, which is not a very good leadership trait and certainly will not help the culture of the organization. So one way we can look at culture is through something called the ICO cycle: inclusion or inclusivity, control, and openness. So if the inclusion, control, and openness is not good, then all of that can actually stifle our cultural improvements. Let's take a look. So people in this kind of business with a cultural block might say, oh, it doesn't matter what I do and what I say because the leadership are going to make this change anyway. So it's inevitable. It's going to happen anyway. Well, I've tried on a few occasions to make a suggestion, but nobody takes any notice of me. So I'm not going to bother making a suggestion anymore. You know, in this company, we've got positive leaders, we've got negative leaders, we've got people who don't know what they're doing. I'm absolutely confused about what's going on around me. And as a result, I just don't care. I have no initiative. I totally lack any initiative moving forward. Nobody ever empowers me in terms of control. Nobody gives me a job to do. Nobody trusts me. So there's a lack of empowerment. Problems in this company never get fixed. There's no 5S going on. You know, the toilet door has been hanging off its hinges for 6 months now. Nobody's fixed it. All of that rubbish that gets blown around the car park, nobody ever sweeps it up or cleans it up. It's terrible. So I just avoid doing anything like that because nobody else bothers. And anyway, it's never my fault. It's always Sally's fault or it's Fred's fault, never ever my fault. And I just completely abdicate my responsibility. So let's look at openness in a poor culture business. You may have read the book by Matthew Syed called Black Box Thinking, really interesting book about the different approaches to mistake making. Now, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but that's not a bad thing because we can learn from them, our colleagues can learn from them, our business can learn from them, and therefore our client will benefit. But in a poor culture organization, it just gets swept under the carpet. Nobody learns, nobody benefits. Finger pointing once again, it's him, it's her, it's those over there, never me. Martin, have you been involved in this problem today? Not me. I don't know anything about it. So we deny what's going on, never take any responsibility. If we look at fault finding, then fault finding is very important in the sector that we're engaged in terms of Six Sigma and Lean and continuous improvement and Shingo. We want to find fault, but in a systematic way. What this fault finding means is we're always finding problems with the business, we're always moaning, and there's always something wrong. So people in this type of company will live their life in fear. They're frightened of their own shadow and they're frightened of change. So this really is what bad looks like. So let's take this opportunity to turn this on its head and let's now start to look at a more positive organisation. This is where we need to be. In terms of inclusion, we need to take personal responsibility. We need more involvement. Our contributions are recognised and they are valued. Our goals are completely in line with the corporate goals and objectives. so we know what we're supposed to do, and that will help the business. And our discussions are about the future, not about the past. We're given support in this company to build our capability. There's loads and loads of learning and development available for us, Shingo programs, TMI, all the lovely things that we can go on and actually improve our knowledge. And we also have succession planning in this business now, which is fantastic. I know why I'm doing what I'm doing today because my manager has explained to me that my job will contribute to the success of the business. So it's highly contextualized for me, which is great. I'm encouraged to make some influence and to do things and get involved, and I'm empowered and given the authority to respond and to act on situations. And decision making in this company, used to be just by the CEO, but decision making can be at any appropriate point in our company, which is really, really refreshing. And if we think about the openness in our business, we have recognition and appreciation of jobs well done. Now, some people might think that recognition is the response to good performance, when in fact, recognition is the very cause of good performance. I'm trusted and I'm respected, and therefore I'm loyal to this business. Our communications are open. Everybody in this company knows exactly what's going on, and we are all on the same page. And I accept responsibility for doing things, and I'm accountable for making sure that things happen in this company. So workforce inclusion and empowering the people in the business really does make change happen. So how do we do it then? How do we improve our culture? What do we need to think about? We need to be brave. We need to be really brave and acknowledge and recognize anything that's stifling our cultural improvements. We do that a lot by having really good communication and being really, really open. And we know that employees respond really well to having a good understanding of what is required of them. That is the context setting that's so important. And this cultural improvement then is brought about through creating ownership, empowerment, and the other protocols such as authority and responsibility and accountability that will really promote shared ownership. Whether employees are partners in the business or not, they share the ownership of the running of the company, and that's how it should be. And in business, whether you're in manufacturing or in any other sector, you oil your machines metaphorically, and that keeps them going. Well, why not treat your culture just the same? We should oil our cultural improvements. So thinking about Shingo closing the gaps that we started with, here we are again with the Shingo model, showing all the guiding principles and the systems and the tools and the results, with culture at the hub of this model. And on the right hand side, you may recognize we talked about this Deloitte University Press survey. Here we can see we've got the blue bars for the 3 items. So learning and development, leadership and culture. And if you recall, the 3,300 people surveyed said these are really, really important to business. However, we also saw the green bars, and we now know that there is something like a 30-point gap. So what we need to do is we need to demonstrate compassionate leadership. We need to be clear with our emotions. We need to demonstrate lots of humility and work really hard with our team to improve our culture such that we can close those gaps. So thank you very much indeed.